Rio Vista. Today I'm tucked in the cozy alcove at Ben's Friends of the Vine, where I'll shortly be speaking with Sandy Person of the Travis Community Consortium. Before that, I want to give a quick recap on last night's City Council meeting. The agenda itself was fairly light, but the commentary was heavy, especially around a support letter that I individually wrote for upcoming legislation to support shipbuilding in the region. Of course, late-breaking news is that despite strong support, Wilson's office pulled the legislation after further discussion with the county, who now believes they can work with the applicant to make something happen expeditiously without legislation. This may be revisited in the January timeframe. Despite this news, I will post my support letter along with this video on my Rio Vista Edwin Facebook page. Again, the legislation is not moving forward though. It would have, 1, restored roughly 7,500 acres of industrial maritime zone that existed prior to the 2008 Solano County General Plan. 2, it would rely on the 2008 General Plan Environmental Impact Report, which already accounted for this acreage. And finally, sunset the legislation in 2028, aligning with the expiration of the current general plan, regardless of whether the new plan is adopted. Most importantly, the county would have retained the exclusive right to approve or deny any project. The concern raised most often is about the speed of execution. I understand this concern, but I also emphasize the need to keep the door open so we can actually get to the point of discussing traffic, water, and infrastructure challenges. Too often, we say we want more local jobs, we want more restaurants, we want stores, yet we finally get a bite and we stall in litigation and analysis paralysis until the opportunity slips away. Of course, I encourage you to watch the full council video for details, but here's a quick rundown of the rest of the meeting. We're thrilled to welcome Judy Gascoigne, also known as Groovy Judy, to the Public Safety Committee. On the action items, we accepted a $10,000 wayfinding grant from STA, which will go toward rebranding or rehabilitating signs along the Bridge to Beach Trail. We also discussed a commemorative flag display policy, which will now be known as our banner display policy. While broadly agreed upon, several amendments were made. Banners will be limited to event and city promotions, with proposals reviewed annually each January by City Council. Organizations will cover their own costs, and eligible locations may include poles on Main Street and along the promenade. Administratively, we approved an ordinance adopting the 2025 California Building Standards Code with existing local amendments, and we drafted a letter to the county recommending enhanced safety measures at Sandy Beach, where swimming is not allowed and someone recently drowned, unfortunately. Finally, our reimbursement agreement with California Forever has been reviewed by our attorney and city manager and was forwarded to the company for review and input. As stated during the meeting, once these negotiations are complete, the council will review and hear public testimony. I encourage you to listen to my comments following public comment on this matter, as there is a disconnect on what constitutes transparency.
Hello there. Great to be here.
I've known you for roughly now 10, 13 years now, ever since I started getting involved in things, and your name consistently popped up as being the person who knows everything about economic development. And so I followed you all these years, and now that you're with the Travis Community Consortium, I'm really excited about what you're doing there. Maybe you could tell me a little bit more, or tell the audience a little bit more about what you're up to.
Sure, and thank you for those beautifully kind words. And I too must echo the sentiment of your leadership over this, 10 plus years. Has meant so much to me to see the heart that you bring as a leader and a mayor to this really incredible community. So thank you. I don't get out here as much as I used to when we were doing general plan update. I got to frequent here quite a bit, but thank you for that. So what brought me out to Solano County is really a story of love. In my one amazing life, I have been very, I've been privileged with a lot of interesting things happening to me, and I've embraced those, and I haven't always had an execution plan or a game plan that I understood, but I have a lot of energy, and
Sure
I've
do.
leaned in when things sounded interesting, and I'm a curious by nature person. So economic development is really something that there wasn't a defined discipline or science to it. I'm longer in tooth now, so kind of looking back, seeing how our state has approached economic development, how our communities approach economic development. You really need to be a master of not a master, you really need to be knowing of a
Sure.
lot of variables that come together. What makes a community? What is that ingredient, that makes one community
Right.
stand out from another?
And I think one of your greatest strengths is really that you're a critical thinker, one, which is all too important, but also the fact that you're willing to listen to all sides. You listen to many different opinions, and then you come to conclusions, which always, to me, are brilliant.
My
sorry
husband
for
may
cutting
differ
you
with
off.
you on that. It's kind of, I say this, I don't mean this to sound trite or to sound unimportant, but by nature I try to be very balanced. I'm a Libra, I'm born in October.
Oh, that's
so
why. I'm a Libra too.
A Libra. And I strive for that balance. And I know that we don't always live in that stasis, right? Things are always changing around us. We're so resistant to change because it's uncomfortable. We don't know what's around the bend. But life has taught me, with that curiosity and that open-mindedness, that in relationships and change, we have to empathize to what other people feel about it. And I'm really a strong believer in coalition building, how you build those ties of like-minded thinking. And we know humans are complex, right? We know that. Marriage is complex, but you want to be together, and you got to figure out a way to be together. So it takes us
Right.
to
And that's
to
a
another
perfect
side.
segue too, right? Because we are talking about change, inevitable change, and managing that change in a way that's going to be thoughtful and helpful and useful to our communities. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to speak with you, because I know we've had conversations earlier about California Forever. You have been now with Travis. You work at Travis, one, you're on the Travis Community Consortium, and you ran economic development for our county too. And so maybe you could speak a little bit about that.
Kind of show that journey,
Yeah,
because
perfect.
I have been in Solano County now better part of 40 years, and it has changed me for the better. I love this place. I
We all do.
am committed to Solano County being as vibrant and as alive as it can be. And I moved here, I'm a California native, I moved here from San Diego in the 1980s. And California has really evolved as a state. We are now the fourth largest economy in the world. You have to take a
It's
moment
enormous.
just to let that sink in.
Right.
The Bay Area has a juggernaut of, its Silicon Valley and its venture capital imprints. It started in defense, and a lot of people don't know that. California, our evolution through our growth and our 40 million people now, used to have over 60 military installations in the state of California, the biggest by a long shot of other states. Through various backgrounds, and these were congressional decisions that were made to reduce, after the Vietnam War, reduce the footprint of installations, because there's a cost to that. And we're always having to balance budgets, right? But California lost half of those installations. I don't think people take enough time to understand how that can change
On the
communities.
economic impact of that.
Economic impact of that. And California has had so many resources that other states just don't have. available to it. So we proliferated in a lot of really strong sectors that have lifted our economy and our opportunities. I came here for love, fell in love with someone who got transferred to Mare Island, a naval base, right? And we built a life here, and it was so interesting coming here in the mid-'80s, because I think Solano County, you know, the population was less than a couple 100,000, but it was changing because people were coming here to live, and there was all this amazing capacity, and people came here who worked in concentrations in the Bay Area and started commuting, and we became different. A lot of you, in fact, are a relocation, you know, from some of that. So what I found here that was so thoughtful was how the county made its growth policy decisions. And it was really founded on some stellar visionary principles that we would have cities that are growth in order to preserve our heritage and our rich agricultural capability. But as people came here from outside, our profile started changing a little bit. Communities could decide what their appetite for some of those growing pains were. And growing pains are part of this process. How do you grow thoughtfully? And I have long felt that our county has been at its best when we work and walk cooperatively through that. And what kind of happened in some of our growth decisions, and the cities could make decisions that they, you know, about their growth that weren't necessarily, you know, the same as their neighboring community.
Right.
So some of those fundamentals change over time, and we are now faced, you know, with a really giant impact that has focused us all on what do we value and what do we most want to have in our Maslow's hierarchy of need present. My hat that I'm wearing today that I'm so proud to wear is for our national security. And many people don't even realize Solano's footprint in national security. We know we have Travis Air Force Base. We know that Mare Island was once. You know, it's, you know, incredible resource in nuclear submarines. And it is trying to evolve to be a new opportunity for shipbuilding now. Our nation has some very, very timely needs. That how do we best meet those? And one of those meetings now is through you know, California Forever's shipbuilding opportunity. I've said a lot there. Do you want to inject on a question there, or have?
No, I mean, I think it's great what you've been saying. It sets it up or segues us nicely into specific projects. This recent legislation that is potentially going to be floated with Senator Cabaldon and Assemblywoman Wilson is trying to make the process easier for businesses to come to our area, and to me that is one of the fundamental challenges that we have in California, and not just in Solano County.
Yeah.
Solano County may have some roadblocks as well, but we need to at least, in my opinion, start to at least open the doors so we can get to that point of having conversations. And I always feel like you've been an advocate for that as well. Like, how do we need to be able to be at the table. And when we keep putting up roadblocks to not even get them to the table, we can't have the conversations that are really important to all of us.
Exactly, and it goes back to, right, in our families, it's the same thing. And how, so I once heard a very wise psychologist say that we seldom listen with our minds open to it. So often we're trying to think of our response before the person has even finished what their thoughts were. So we're wanting, humans want to assert what they think is right. And I think we are at a fascinating time in our government of who we trust, and social trust has been really impacted now. Who do we value? And you as a mayor, you're going to have a level of insights that I couldn't possibly have, because Sandy Person does her day-to-day and what she does and all that information that I assimilate every day. But I can't know what you know, and
Well,
I
that's
have to
exactly
trust.
the point, right?
Yes.
The exact point of why I go to you, because you are so well connected into more of the county and with Travis Air Force Base. And our conversation began, our previous conversation was about exactly that, about what you hear in the media and what I hear from my constituents about the perception of Travis Air Force Base, and then I hear from you what the reality is, and there's a disconnect. And it's so important for us as leaders to try to get all sides of the story, whether or not we trust or whether we like or whatever our personal feelings are about. And we'll just cut to the chase, California forever, because there's a lot of emotion tied around that relationship, and discussion translates to many people that we like them. And I don't know if like is the right word. It's, do we buy into a particular vision? And it's how do we get to it, and how do we make sure that our needs are met as a community and as a county?
And you said that so beautifully, Mayor. It's always about the people, right? So how do you approach those decisions? And I want to go back a little bit about Travis, because better part of over 20 years now, I have been focused. It's our single largest employer in the region. It's now, by their estimation, I think if true economic development models were being used, it would be much more than this. But it's $3.7 billion last year.
It's enormous.
Enormous. And our economy is a 20 billion plus economy. And we have a lot going on in Solano County with industry and with many of those traded sectors. But our defense footprint here, which did lose one installation, through Mare Island, valuable installation, but geopolitics in the world changed, and we are now heavily focused on the Pacific because of the geopolitical climate right now. And Travis's role moves everything through that. People weren't aware of just how impacted that was until the likes of Ukraine and the Israel conflict we recently had. The airplanes, the amount of airlift and air support that Travis gives is in all our worldly news. So they are at the center of a lot of that. And it's critically important that we preserve and enhance Travis's capability. But, and this is an important but, the Department of Defense in our United States of America has not been investing in infrastructure. It has really struggled with timely, thoughtful budgets. Our congressional leaders, and I am, very respectful to our great leaders that represent this county, and we have so many, and we have to trust that they're thinking like we're thinking, right? Because we have to know what that highest order of business is. So mine and my day job and my being is about protection to our national security and our national defense. And I don't want to do anything that would jeopardize that. And I'm confident when I say that I see so much more opportunity ahead than I see fear. And I want our leaders to operate from a basis of opportunity and prosperity, not fear.
Right, exactly.
And how do you get to that? And it is by listening. And people are the greatest piece of that. So how do you have thought? Well, it starts by me listening to you. And I have found you to be a critical thinker that does, well, right? And it can't just be like-minded thinking. Bring again my husband into this, and I hate to pound on him, but he and I don't always see eye to eye. But I become more knowledgeable listening and learning from him. You have helped inform me. There are a lot of the great leaders in our county who think differently than I think.
Sure.
And in the Department of Defense. But I try to ask myself every day, what can I do to better serve Travis Air Force Base and our national security?
Right.
And so I'm being confident when I say that I believe we have to be more visionary and leaning into opportunity because our nation has not funded what it needs to operate in a long time. We haven't paid for some things we need to, like our infrastructure, our water systems, our electrical grid
Right.
is not, has not been well invested in. And so we're trying to remedy that because the world has changed, technology has changed, and we need that more than ever now. So what are those things we can do to build on that? And the Department of Defense is absolutely focused on that as well. Modern day warfare does not look like what it looked like in our parents' day, and even 10 years ago. It's very fast, it's very tight. You talk about speed.
Right, speed of execution.
How do we get comfortable with making decisions that have risk? And we need leaders to trust their experts in what they inform them and how to best get there. But we're going to make mistakes.
We are going to make mistakes, and I said it earlier in the video about analysis paralysis. That was what we used to say in business all the time when I was in the agency. We'd say, we could sit here and talk about this for the next 2 weeks, or we could let our competitor come in and do it next week, have a couple little flubs in there, but ultimately they're ahead of the game. Technology is very much like that because I worked in technology. I don't know if you knew that, but I came from technology marketing, and that was exactly it. They're disrupting industries, and they were making sure that they're being the leader, because there was also another saying that the leader takes 80%, the second place gets 15%, and everyone else is fighting for that 5%. What do we want to be here in California?
Fail fast and often is how capitalism and all that technology has flourished.
Right. And what I love most about you and some of our other leaders in the county is about optimism. I always say we need to start from a place of optimism. We can't sit there from a place of despair, which it seems like so many times we do. Well, this is horrible. This is going to kill our communities. This is going to... Well, we got to start from a place of, hey, there is some upside. There are positive things that could come of this, that, or whatever the issue may be.
I think we all would agree we want Solano to be a neat place, to be meeting what we all define as that. Well, what is that? What we have not done well. Because we're such an amazingly diverse county with all this enrichment of people and ways of thinking and different, we really haven't come together as a county and had a lot of those honest discussions. They've been very polarized. And that's tragic, right? Because then we all remember the thing just about listening to what you just said. I'm already trying to think of my response. There's yeah, but, yeah, but, yeah, but. How do we come together and really listen? And I am confident that Solano County has the ability to come together and do that. I am feeding that sense of urgency to do that.
And it's appreciated.
We've got to figure this out. Our nation has to figure this out too. We've got to row together, and we've got to figure out that a way to do that. So we all take a deep breath and lean in. They're saying now, you gotta love this. Lean into our pain, because our backs kind of have to be against the wall sometimes to figure hard stuff out. So how do we do that?
That's
with
right.
a lot of capabilities. We've got to share. I need to let you know what I'm thinking. I need to hear what you're thinking.
And we are not going to agree on many. I mean, and I say this all the time, is Sassoon and Rio Vista, do I enjoy them? Do I like their leadership? Yes, I do. But are we in disagreement on many things about what we want out of our community? Yes, we do, but we have those discussions, and it's both from a place of optimism and how can we move the county forward as well. And so it's always a joy sitting on all these other boards like STA and SQUA, and because you get to speak to the other leaders in those moments. Yeah.
And build relationships,
Build
right?
relationships.
And those relationships are what's important, and that valued exchange of difference of opinion. And we need to do that, I think, sooner versus later. Come together now, have those, bring an open mind to the process. And how do we grow, together upstream? Because a lot of significant challenges. I am trying not to be, I am an optimist, and I'm proud of it, and I want to bring that up. As I get older, and boy, I wish I could reverse that. Cannot do that. But it's speaking from that basis of hopefully some wisdom I've got along the way. And guess what? Someone else may have a lot of insights that I don't have. I appreciate this so much. I appreciate the work ethic of people that are willing to lend their time to these important national decisions at a local level, at a state level, and at a federal level. We've all got to put food on the table and figure out our livelihoods, but you're doing something, outside of that realm as well, and being a leader, and it's tough because we're so judgmental. And no, I appreciate that. We need more leaders that are willing to have those discussions.
And I absolutely appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for speaking with me today. I appreciate your opinions greatly. And I look at you, you might not be elected, but I see you as someone of an elected just because you're so out there and you're always out in the community. You're advocating for things you truly believe in based on your 40 years of experience in this county. I've only been here a mere 21 years, so.